Hi all, Lee here. So, great day. Today I start my prototype guitar. I'm going to start with the body. The first job is really easy. I've got my lovely piece of sapele here. So all I need to do, I'm just going to run a block with some very fine sandpaper just across the edge. Because what I'll be doing is I'll cut this in half and glue the two halves together. So it's a two-piece body in effect. So that's where I'm going to start, just getting this cut in half, glue the two halves together and get the body template on there. So let's kick off and do that now. So I've just got a piece of fine sandpaper on a flat block. Just going to run across the edge because I'll do both sides and then I'll choose which sides sort of stick together the most perfectly. So I just want to remove any of the harsh edges off these. So all I'm going to do is I'll just run this block across the top just to make sure that there's nothing odd sticking up. This is all machine planed, so I've already checked it and it looks perfectly flat, but I just want to make sure there's no odd bumps or blemishes, and then it should make the gluing much easier and quicker to do. That already feels really good. So I'm just going to mark off halfway and then we'll take it to the bandsaw and chop this in half. Doesn't have to be perfect. There's plenty of room to get the template on there. All right. That should do. Let's get this cut out. So this is just a bit too wide for my my bandsaw, so I'm just going to use the handsaw to cut this in half. There's nothing too accurate with this, so as long as I've got two pieces at the end of it, that's all that matters. So these two edges seem to go together the squarest. It looks really good. There's the seam should be almost perfect once these are glued together. So let's get some glue on one half of this. We'll put the clamps on and we'll leave that dry. Going to spread it evenly with a spreader. You really want to make sure the glue goes to the very edges. Right, that looks really good. So it's just a matter of leaving that dry. I'm going to give it a wipe down first though with an old cloth. Right, so it's just a matter of leaving that dry. Everything's straight and square. Yeah, it feels good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So the gluing was really successful. I'm pleased with that. The line is perfect. It's glued exactly level. The two pieces of wood, I think, match really well side by side. So all I've done now is I've just drawn around my template. Just to put that on there. But what I'm thinking, before I cut this out, one thing that I've always noticed before is once I've cut the body out, I find it harder to cut the neck pocket out because there's nothing to rest on with the router on the edge of the body. And I've always had to build some sort of jig or use an offcut of wood to try and have something to balance the router on. So what I'm thinking I might do is I might actually cut the neck pocket now. while I can. So I can put that on there quite easily, and it makes it much easier for me to then put the router on there and cut a very even pocket because everything's supported correctly. So hopefully that makes sense. It's just this extra material here supports the template, and it stops the router from wobbling as much. So I think that's what I'll do next. Before I do anything else, I'm going to measure up my neck pocket, and then I'll cut that out. So just to give you some dimensions, the neck pocket I've already measured on my initial setup and test. If I make that about 75 millimeters, then my 25-inch scale length neck should then come to around this position. So I'm happy with the 75 millimeter neck pocket. The whole point of this is a prototype, so this is where I can make the mistakes, but my calculations have put this here. So I'm going to measure down 75 millimeters from the edge of my template. I'm going to put this on, and then I'm going to cut that out with my router. It's going to be 19 millimeters deep, so that's how deep that pocket's going to be. So let's do that now. So just putting that at about 75 mil. That should work. And then I'm going to draw the template on as well, but what I'll actually do is I will stick this particular template down to the top. Then I'll use a router bit with a ball bearing to follow the shape out. But let's just draw it on to see what it looks like now. Just a quick second measurement just to make sure. Yep, that looks perfect to me. So that's what I'm going to cut out, 19 millimeters deep. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some sticky back plastic onto this template. Sticky back sellotape onto this template, double-sided I should say. And then I'm just going to stick it into position directly on the center line. On this is a sort of official Fender neck pocket template. I don't know if you can see that. So it has got a center line on it. I can match up perfectly. The reason I prefer using tape is it means I don't have any any clamps in the way, because the clamps get in the way of the router. So like that should be fine. So what I'll do now is I will actually cut out this section with the router, with a ball bearing router bit, and then I'll follow the ball bearing around the template, and that should cut it out perfectly. Remember, 19 millimeters deep. So I've decided before I cut the rest of the material off, what I'll actually do is I'll route the first humbucker cavity first. So I need to be careful with this, not so much this one, but the back one, because I'm going to have a tremolo on this. So I'm going to have a huge tremolo cavity cut out the back for the springs. So I can't go too deep with these. So I'm going to go around 16 millimeters, which is about 5/8 of an inch. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll cut the rest of the material out. The reason I'm not cutting the second humbucker is what I'll do is once I've made the neck and I can get the exact dimensions for the scale length, I can then put the scale length line on, line up the bridge properly, and then I can position the second humbucker, and that will then become sort of the prototype template, and I'll know exactly where I need to cut for the size of neck. As you can see, I've already drawn on here where it should be, but obviously always measure twice, as they say. So I'm not going to complete the body. I'm going to make the neck after cutting the body out, and only once the neck is in and I can do the proper measurements, I'll cut the tremolo cavity out and also the second humbucker. So let's do this now. Yeah, that looks like 16 mil, so that's perfect. So we'll twist this off, and this time we'll go and take the extra material off and start cutting the body out. So I've just made the first cut, just where the edge of the neck pocket is. So now I'll just start removing the rest of the material around. So that's the first part of the body complete. Hopefully you can see that. So it's all cut out. It's been sanded, but not completely, obviously. There's still a lot more work that has to go into this body. But I just wanted to show you where we are so far. So I'm really happy with this so far. The next video, I will start the neck, and that's where I get to use my new jigs. So I've built a neck carve jig and also a fretboard radius jig. So stay tuned for the next video and we'll get on with the neck and you can see that. And then we can start making some measurements so I can work out where to put the tremolo and also where to put the second humbucker. So I'll see you soon. Cheers.